All right, good morning, everybody. This is Thursday. Yeah, it's Thursday morning. Boy, I can't. I always seem to forget what morning it is. Anyway, I've got Rob Lapham calling all the way from Port St. Joe, and I have no idea what's on his mind. Good morning, Rob. How's your dogs doing this morning?
They're doing just fine, James. We have a third one who's visiting us for a week or so while his mom drives down to Tampa to take care of her mom, who has a problem as a hoarder. Anyway.
Well, family, we can't choose our family, and that's a good thing you're talking about right there, because a lot of times our family does things that we're not exactly happy with, and I see that a lot when it comes to car repair. Sometimes a wife's car will act up, and the husband will bring it in reluctantly to get it fixed. And until I talk to the wife, a lot of times it don't get fixed. Until I say, he'll say, yeah, she doesn't need that air conditioning. Don't worry about it. And I call her, ma'am, you want that air conditioning fixed? Yeah, you better fix it. Okay, no problem. But yeah, I understand how that goes. But anyway, what's going on in your direction today, sir?
So you just caused me to think, James Auto Service and domestic counseling services. It sounds like.
I tell you what, when you're dealing with auto repair, I'm serious. When a husband comes in, you have to find out who makes decisions on car repairs. And I'll be test driving a car, and all of a sudden I'll say, well, who makes the decisions on the car repair? And the person goes, well, I do. And I'll be driving along, and we get back to the shop, say, okay, it's going to be a level 1 or whatever, and you sign right here. So, well, let me call my wife. And they'll say, I thought you made the decisions. And so immediately this is going to be a hard sell on a car like that. So I've seen that a few times.
Well, in answer to your question, what's on my mind, aside from our visiting dog, I actually, in the last at least 24 hours, did not spend very much time on politics at all.
Oh.
And I'll tell you what I was doing. But first, I will tell you about two abject stupidity examples that I came across in the last day.
All right.
One of them, the governor of New York, Andrew Cuomo, said yesterday, if the new court with Kavanaugh does something to erode Roe v. Wade, I will sue the Supreme Court. So the question arises, where does he think he would bring such an action?
I'm lost.
Stupidity.
I know.
Absolute stupidity. The guy is so ignorant. I don't suppose his remarks will get a lot of press, because I would think most of the mainstream media would be embarrassed to repeat it. I think he had to crawl back in his hole.
It is amazing. It is amazing. Go ahead.
The second thing with Kavanaugh, also yesterday, is that the Yale Law School, in making their announcement of their graduate, Kavanaugh, being nominated to the Supreme Court, came out with the plaudits and the congratulations the Yale Law student did in a statement. And some 600 students, former students, alumni, penned a long letter criticizing that, including the statement that said, people will die if he is confirmed. No background for that, but what abject stupidity, these people. And the nice thing about this one is that the Yale Law School then put out a rebuttal statement. And it says, Yale Law School is a nonpartisan institution. We routinely acknowledge high-profile nominations of our alumni. We did exactly the same thing not so long ago when Justice Sotomayor, class of 79, received her nomination to the High Court, period. So I really like the Yale Law School in adopting a common-sense approach, uniform, and once again, these yahoos on the far left who are saying people will die if somebody is confirmed. It is such an overreach and really is an embarrassment.
Well, I've come to the conclusion that anything that our president is for, the opposition's against, no matter what. But I do realize one thing. I was a big Ron Paul supporter, and I've realized that the Republicans didn't like Ron Paul, and the Democrats didn't like Ron Paul, and that's the reason I said, that's the guy I want to be my president. And then when Donald Trump was running for office, the Republicans hated him. I'm going, and the Democrats go, oh, poo-poo, he's nothing serious. The next thing I know, he's president, and they both hate him. I'm going, you know what? I like what this guy had to say. What he talked about yesterday about NATO. Now, a lot of people may not agree with me, but when you've got us over there protecting Germany from Russia, and then Germany has an agreement for billions and billions and billions of dollars a year for fuel from Russia, why do we need to have that alliance them to protect them from Russia if they're already in bed with Russia so badly? There's no way I mean, come on, common sense is not common in politics. I just really think they want our money. That's all it's about. It has nothing to do with keeping us safe or keeping them safe. It all has to do with keeping the military-industrial complex and the North Atlantic Treaty Organization moving. That's all it's for, is jobs over there. And that's just my opinion. I got people who are probably going to hate me for that, but that's what I think. I think NATO has overlived its usefulness. Now, I may be completely wrong, and in 10 years I may say, man, I wish I hadn't said that. But right now, I would like the idea of us having, right now, America produces more gas or more oil than Russia, Saudi Arabia, or any. We've taken the lead again from 1970 when we were producing, I want to say 9.8 million barrels of oil a day. Now they're talking about us doing 10.1 million barrels of oil a day. That's a lot of oil. That's a lot of oil. And
for sure. Unfortunately, even though we can export lots and do export energy now, it's a long way from the east coast of the United States to Europe. I mean, you'd never be able to get a pipeline there. So any movement of oil would, of course, have to be in tankers. I'm not sure what the economics of that is.
It's not.
But, you raise a really good point on NATO, James, and it really ought to be discussed, not just during this time of the NATO conference. The fact is, and I'm agreeing with you 100% here, I mean, NATO was formed as a bulwark against the expansionist Soviet Union.
Correct, yes.
And when you have today, and it's not Angela Merkel's fault, the German chancellor, the previous German chancellor, a guy by the name of Gerhard Schroeder, he is head of this German gas combine that is behind the building of the 600-mile pipeline under the Baltic Sea from Russia to the north coast of Germany to supply massive amounts of natural gas. And as I understand it, Germany, upon completion of this thing, will be 70+% dependent on Russian energy just from this one pipeline, and in total about 90% totally dependent on Russia. So to your point on NATO, if there was a case to unify the West against a Soviet threat, decades ago, you can't make the same argument when all the gas for Germany, and Germany will be totally dependent on the whims of Russia should they cut off the energy supply in the middle of winter.
Absolutely.
So what is NATO doing? The folks are trying to have it both ways. If you're going to bring all your energy and be dependent on Russia for your energy, then let's get rid of NATO. Let's all save some money.
Well, especially since we're putting most of the bill, what I found out. I've always thought that we were putting most of the bill, but it's been brought to my attention lately that I want to say that over 3/4 of NATO's budget is being supplied by the United States. Maybe I'm wrong on that, but if that's the case, then why are we doing that? We're in debt. In case people didn't realize, we're what, 20... I think when we first started this show, we were only $10 trillion in debt. Now we've, over the years, we've grown to $21 trillion in debt. I've been doing this show for several years now, and it seems like it's the 800-pound gorilla in the room that no one talks about. How do you get out of debt? Well, you get out of debt by paying your bills off and putting your, and focusing on what you have to do. But we've got so many expenses out there, and no offense to sailors that are drunk, but we spend worse than drunken sailors. The American, I don't understand why we continue doing a failed policy because, like you said, NATO was put together to keep the expansion of Soviet Russia from moving into Europe. Well, first off, there is no Soviet Russia anymore. That's gone away. Soviet Union. And right now, I think the idea of people engaging in fair trade between countries, reciprocating trade like Russia and Germany, great, wonderful. But you don't need to have a third party stirring trouble up, which will be us or Russia or whatever. Let people take care of their own problems. And if there's a problem where America needs to step in, okay, I see it. But America's we've been the police force for the world since the World War II. When are we going to stop being the world's policeman? Are we always going to be? We're going to stay against the world's policeman so long as we have the world reserve currency, the dollar bill. Maybe that's why we're going, and maybe that's it, but that's going to fail. eventually. And when that fails, I think America's going to be in for a real rude awakening. And a lot of people don't like that concept or that idea that we may not be the number one supreme power in the world, but you cannot be a debtor nation and be powerful. And we are turning into a debtor nation.
Yeah, I got a new headline for you.
What's your new headline?
The new headline is James Morris, Master Auto Technicians Program. Since it first aired, national debt has increased from $10 trillion, $21 trillion. And obviously the left did put a spin on that. It's all your fault, James.
Oh, Lord have mercy.
If you had stayed off the air.
Well, we were sitting here thinking, but this is my last year on television. Where my wife and I have talked about it. My contract expires in December, and I've been doing this since 1998. And after 20 years, I've decided, it's time for me to concentrate on grandkids and my bees and just enjoy life. And getting up early.
That's wonderful.
And getting up in there, it's been a lot of fun, don't get me wrong. I've learned a lot from people out here, and I've really enjoyed myself. But December, it's going to be time for me to step back, and I've just had a great time. And so I got like another 4 or 5 more months, and until that time happens, I want to enjoy myself, but we're looking forward to stepping back from TV and doing other things instead. So,
James, I'm pleased to hear that. We all find as we approach the later years in our lives that we wish that we spend more time with family or done things a little differently. And I was thinking just a few weeks ago, I want to continue bothering James every Thursday morning for a quarter hour.
You're not bothering me at all.
Now that you said, well, thank you. But now that you said that you are going to be closing the program, let me congratulate you for that. And I think I'm going to hang in there until your final program, and then we can both take some time off.
Absolutely. That's what. But we're having a lot of fun. We're learning a lot out here. I actually have people that tell me every day they learn something, whether it's on their car or what's happening in Tallahassee or what's happening in Washington that they've never heard. They've never quite heard that angle before, because we're talking about a libertarian perspective of not having to be the world's police force, and not, that's one of the things a lot of libertarians, we don't think we need to be the world's police force. But I've got my Republican and Democrat friends out there say, oh my God, we've got to have NATO. I'm going, why? Well, keep us safe. Safe from what? And then they can't really answer that question. What are we safe from the Muslims? Safe from the Russians? I mean, what keep us safe from what? And boils down to it's just a program that needs to kind of go away, is what I'm thinking. I think it's outlived its usefulness, and since we're a global economy, and I think that we can make things work a lot better if we don't have to do a lot of saber rattling in the future. I think that's really
sounds good to me.
All right. Hey, I got to go. We've been on for almost 13 minutes. We got about another 45 seconds left. What would you tell people to remember from this conversation we had this morning? Is there anything?
I would like folks to become aware that you will be retiring from this program, shutting it down as of the end of December, and I would like them to spread that far and wide so that they listen, because there's only 6 more months or so of James Morris on every day for a half hour, and therefore they should tune in every single day.
Well, that's very flattering. Glad you think that. Well, my wife's sitting here going, I'm looking forward to being able to sleep in to 6 o'clock. That's what she's looking forward to. All right, Rob, you be good.
You have to do that for her and also for Buddy and Clyde.
My cat and dog, they appreciate that too if they can sleep in late. All right, you be good, Rob. I'll talk to you later now. Thanks for calling. Bye-bye.
Take care.
If you want the best deal in town for tires, you need to call Baytown Tires at 873-8900.
Hanson and the guys at Baytown Tires take pride in serving Panama City for over 20 years. Baytown Tires on Highway 98 in St. Andrews. All service work backed by a nationwide warranty.
Summer is here and the days are getting longer and hotter. Call James Auto Center for a free cooling system evaluation and consultation. Give us a call, 850-763-0555 today.
Beep, 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 yeah!
Water is too powerful to fight alone. Mr. Router Plumbing. Sink, shower, and toilet emergency drain services.
All right, welcome back. I tell you what, that was a good show with Rob this morning. I enjoyed talking to him. But I also enjoy talking to a buddy of mine. I've known him since my daughters were going to college. When they graduated from high school, one was going to go to Gulf Coast Community College, where she was going to get a scholarship in cheerleading. And at the same time, she said, Dad, since you're on the radio, I'd like to learn a little bit about broadcasting. And this is one of her instructors, Frank Sundram. If I'm not mistaken, am I saying that right, Frank? You're one of her instructors at one time in radio broadcasting?
Yes, I was. She was a star student.
She still is a little star in my mind right there. She is something else. And she asks about you all the time. She says, do you ever talk to Frank Sundram? And I said, once or twice a week. She says, well, how's he doing? I said, he's doing well. He spends most of his time between here and Kentucky. And she says, Kentucky? I said, he's got family up there, I think, or something. He spends a lot of time up there. But we were talking last week about airplane engines, and I had a few people that asked me, says, how did they keep the oil from, when on a dry sump? And I said, well, maybe Frank can explain it, because I've never tore apart an airplane engine. How do they keep that oil in one area? Is it just go into a closed container and pump through positive pressure? Is that how that works? Instead of being having
there are two pumps.
Uh-huh.
There's the oil pump, as everybody knows, and then there's another pump called the scavenge pump, and that takes it from the bottom of the sump, the oil pan, which really isn't much of an oil pan because it doesn't hold anything, and it pushes it back into a tank. And that's where it sort of condenses again. The air gets out of it, and it bubbles up, and it gets repumped through the engine constantly.
Oh.
So that's how that happens.
I had no idea. But, hey, Frank, help me answer a question right here. I've got Ron calling. He's got a 2008 Suzuki SX4, and I have no idea what he's going to ask. So I want to ask him what his question is, and maybe you and I can come up with an answer. Hey, Ron, what's your question about your Suzuki SX4, sir?
Well, I've got it. There where you turn it on the dash, where you turn the air conditioner on and off, there's a blinking light. Sometimes it may go a few days and not blink, and then it'll blink, and it's kind of according to the weather, I think, but I don't know. I wonder if you had any idea.
Let me ask you
what that might indicate that's
when the light is blinking, it's the AC light that's blinking. Is that correct?
Yeah, there where you push it, push the button and it turns it on, and
right.
You push it again, it turns it off. But that little light, when it's on, once in a while it'll blink. Some days it seems like it blinks more than others.
Okay, let me ask you a question. When the light is blinking, is the air conditioning able to work?
Yeah, it's cool. I mean, it doesn't seem to affect, the performance.
Well, I have no idea. Frank, you got any idea what a blinking light? Because normally when a blinking light comes on these cars, it means the air compressor is not working. But in his case, the air compressor is working. Let's see. I'm looking here on Frank's going. You asking me?
It could be low. It could be a low on, freon, also indicate a freezing condition.
But the
light should stay on constantly.
That's what I was saying. What I'm doing is I'm going to cheat. I'm going to go to Identifix, and I'm going to put, I've typed this car, and I'm going to put AC light blinking. I'm going to put AC light. Let's see if that just see. AC light. And let's see air conditioning light.
It doesn't blink constantly. You may be going down the road, and you'll notice out of the corner of your eye, it'll blink a time or two.
Oh, here it is right here. Okay. Has automatic air conditioning. The AC light is flashing on for 2 seconds and off for 2 seconds. When the AC is turned on, the AC compressor comes on for now after properly charging the AC system. And they're saying check for AC codes. What it's doing is flashing a code at you, believe it or not. That's what it's doing. It's they're saying the AC compressor owns now after properly charging AC system blows cold air. The AC pressures are good. This guy says I have 150 on the high side and 30 on the low side. The evaporator temperature drops to 28 degrees. The compressor clutch cycles off, but then stays off until the evaporator temperature climbs way back up to 42 and starts blowing warmer air. And the test and this is at 69,000 miles. They say check the AC codes manually. See how you can do that? There's still no codes, but the light's still flashing. Check the charging voltage for excessive AC voltage, and the charging system could have a bad alternator. Disconnect the battery and put the cables together for 15 minutes or so and reconnect the battery, see if the problem is gone. Back probe and check the heating, ventilation, air conditioning, HVAC control module for 5-volt reference. The power is on the white red wire, terminal 7, ground is on the black wire. Okay, tech tip here. I'm reading what they're telling me. When the AC light blinking, need to check codes. The scan tool didn't give a code, but Suzuki's are not well supported. Duh. If the recirculating light and fresh fresh light both flash one time together, and then the recirculating light flashes 3 times, it would be a 4 for the recirculating light and 1 for the fresh light. Anyway, what they're trying to say is there's codes on here. So Ron, I'm going to tell you, you need to seek professional help. Your car does, not you, but your car your car is going to need to seek professional help because you've got a problem with either the evaporator temperature sensor is not working, like exactly what my friend said, Frank, about it freezing up. That might be what's happening. It may be freezing up on you and making that light blink. It sees a problem, and it does have manual diagnostic of codes you can get out of it. And if you want to come by here, Ron, I'll show you how to get the codes out of it if you want to. And that won't cost you anything but a few minutes of your time.
Okay, and what about the idle speed? Sometimes it idles around 800, but, you know, it seems to me like it's too fast, and then on a cool, rainy day, it'll idle down around 700, which, you know, feels about right.
Well,
and I'm wondering if that's wearing out the transmission, or,
no,
if 800 is in the range.
No, your idle is controlled by your computer. There's no adjustments on the computer. It looks at engine temperature, it looks at the oxygen sensors, it looks at engine load, and that's controlled by the computer through an idle air control motor. There's no adjustments whatsoever. Now, it could be dirty if you've got, say, more than 50, 60,000 miles on it. Your idle air control motor could be dirty and need to be cleaned. That's just a maintenance item, believe it or not. That's all you got to do. It's a
but, you know, the weather seems to have something to do with it.
Does.
You know, on a cool, rainy day, it'll idle just fine down around 700, and everything feels good. But then, you know, the next day, or, you know, it'll be up around 800.
Well, I really wouldn't worry too much about that, but that might be related to the air conditioning, because if the air conditioning's not under a load or whatever, depending on the load, like I said, let's get the obvious fix, take a look, see if there's any codes in the system, and go from there. But stop on by here, Ron. Anytime you want, meet you and I'll walk out there and we'll point you in the right direction. How's that sound, Ron?
Okay, that sounds like a winner.
Come on by. We'll take care of it then for you. We'll just take a look at it and give you an idea.
Thanks very much.
You're welcome, Ron. Okay, now, Frank, you were absolutely right when you said it might be freezing up in the evaporator. That's what I'm reading right here. Because I guess that's been a common problem for cars throughout the years. When that light starts blinking, and you know there's something wrong with the AC evaporator or the compressor, and you even knew that.
Well, for a guy who grew up in cars that didn't come from the factory with heaters, I think I've made a lucky guess.
Well, I wouldn't say a lucky guess. You just got finished experiencing that same problem on your older model General Motors, didn't you?
Yes.
Where you were having problems. How did that turn out? Did that expansion valve solve your problem along with the dryer?
Well, you know, we changed the expansion valve, we changed the dryer, we changed the thermal limiter switch, because I just figured after 40 years, all those sparks just needed a rest.
Yeah, and they need to go away. And everything's working as designed?
So far.
Wow, that's improvement. I know you're going to be happy about that.
And you know, I think you pointed me in the right direction also, so we need to give credit back to you because you made some really, really good calls.
Yeah.
I'm just at a point in life where I just as soon, if my hand touches something that's 40 years old, I just as soon change it than fiddle with it.
I tell you what, on cars, when the parts get old, I've actually seen cars come in here. We've had some cars from the early 90s come in here with the original radiators and hoses, and they're just like, I tell them, I say, if you want to continue to drive this car, you cannot continue to drive with 30-year-old hoses and radiators, because you're right on the edge right now of running hot. And they kind of look at me, well, they're not leaking and my gauge reads fine. I said, but if you're not getting rid of heat, you're right on a cutting edge. You should be getting rid of 30 degrees of heat, that radiator, and you're only getting rid of like 3 degrees, if that. And it won't take much, to cause an overheating problem and possibly ruin your car. But like you said, when parts get old, there are certain parts that need to be changed or replaced. Radiators are one of them, belts, hoses, coolant. Those things we take for granted about coolant, but a lot of people forget about hoses and forget about belts until they break. And I know you said you had a 40-year-old car, and I bet you some of those parts, like you said, have been in there 40 years. And when you took them apart, did they just kind of crumble, or were they tough coming off, or?
Well, some of them were frozen, where you have dissimilar metals. They gall, and it takes the heat wrench to open them up. But but what you say is exactly correct. A few years ago, I had a Lexus, and we're getting the timing belt done, and in between the AC condenser and the radiator, there had to be about 10 or 12 pounds of dirt blocking the bottom third of that radiator.
And that's a good thing to check. Yeah, good. I'm glad you saw that.
And it was just pretty amazing to me and the mechanic, who was just shaking his head because he said, was it overheating? Oh, no, not at all. And it wasn't. But
yeah,
that car had excess capacity.
That's correct. That's the catch right there. All radiators have excess capacity when they're new. When they get older, they lose it. Give them 10 years and all that's gone away. After 10 years, just about all reserve capacity is gone. Even I don't even know how much heat is that radiator the original radiator in your motorhome, or has that been changed?
No, it was changed 10 years ago.
Well, it's probably about time to change it again. I don't know, but about 10 years is about all we get out of a radiator nowadays. But that's an old brass copper radiator, isn't it?
Yes.
Well, maybe you could take that one out and fix that, and you could probably put they actually make a chemical that can go inside those radiators and remove the scale pretty well, and they did it for a long time, and that might be something you may want to look at if you're not getting rid of enough heat. All you got to do is get the car at the operating temperature, see what the incoming hose temperature is and what the outgoing hose is, and if it's at idle, if you got 30 degrees or better at idle, there's nothing wrong with your radiator. If you want to check that out, Frank, do that today. Get the upper operating temperature, see what the water is coming to the radiator. It should be about 190 degrees. It should be leaving the radiator at 170 or better.
Well, that'll give me an excuse to test out my new Amazon infrared temperature sensor.
I knew you had one. You told me you were going to get one. I'm glad you finally got one. They are neat.
Well, I love that. I walk around, check the temperatures of the brakes through the wheels and stuff like that. So, it's a great toy.
It is a great, but
I use it in the kitchen.
My wife uses it to cook with. And don't you use it to change the water in the aquarium too?
Yes, I check all kinds of temperatures.
Yeah. When they first came out like 20 years ago, they were like $400 and $500. Now you can get them for what, $29?
I got mine at Amazon for $8.99.
$8.99. I paid $300 for my very first one 20 years ago. It's like it's amazing how things have gotten cheaper. Frank, we're up against clock. Thanks for calling this morning. It was a good show. I enjoyed talking to you. You're going to call Monday morning at 6 o'clock?
Monday morning, 6 o'clock, Central.
Central time. No telling where you will be Monday morning. We'll talk to you Monday morning at 6 o'clock, Frank.
All right.
All right, be good now. All right.
Part of what I'd like to let you know is what we do and how we work our system. Basically, we've got about 700 stocking dealers scattered around the 15 counties here in the Big Bend area of the state. I run a fleet of trucks, vans, and what we call hotshot vehicles to deliver to our dealers quickly so they can help service you as fast and efficiently as they can. Provide timely and efficient service, and we're there to take care of our dealers, who in turn can take care of their customers. Thank you.
Guarantee, beep, beep.